Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode we're doing a top 10. Topic of the top 10, top 10 New Year's resolutions. Basically what we're going to do here is we're going to pick a wrestler or a wrestling company and a resolution that they should make for the coming year of 2023. With that being said, let's jump right into it. Number 10, Impact Wrestling with a resolution to get on a streaming service. Whether it be Paramount Plus, HBO Max, Disney Plus, Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime, they need to get on a bigger platform. And with streaming becoming more and more prevalent as the years go by, this is going to be a huge step forward. I know that their parent company owns the channel they're on cable access, which, if I remember correctly, is only on about 30% of the cable networks in America. So for them to reach a bigger crowd or a bigger audience, even if the licensing isn't that expensive, even if they do it cheaply, it would be worth it for them to cut a cheap deal and let's say they go on Hulu. Hulu has something like 45 million subscribers, or Netflix, which I think is above 100 million subscribers. You're going to catch people's eye and people are going to give it a try. They might be bouncing around looking for something to watch and go, oh, Impact. They may have watched TNA back in the day, or they may watch wrestling now and have heard Impact in videos like videos I do, but just never had an opportunity to catch it. And they could say, well, let me check this out. Let's see what this is about. They give it a shot. Now all of a sudden they're watching it every week. I think it's something that would really help the company, help them get another stronger foothold in America. I think they're perfectly okay with being the third promotion in America and living in that space, but I would love to see their product go out to more people because I think it's a really good product. More often than not, the Impact show is really good every week, and I think wrestling fans around the world would gravitate to it if they had a place where they could watch it regularly. Now, coming from that, our number 9, Jungle Boy's resolution: develop promo skills. It can be argued that the one thing that Jack Perry is missing is the promo. He's great in the ring, he's got great facials, he can tell a story with his matches, he has fire, the fans are behind him, he has a great look to him. The one thing that he comes up a little bit short on is promos. He's just not natural. It doesn't come across as believable. Now, whether he taps into some of the guys they have there, like Arn Anderson, Taz, even an Eddie Kingston, and say, hey, help me with my promos. Tony Schiavone, help me with my promos. What can I do to better myself? Where can I practice? If he can do this, that's going to take him from that next level where he's not just a TNT title contender, where he becomes a world championship contender. And I think he really needs to take his step for his career so we can see him go to the heights that we expect him to. This is in no way a knock on what he's done so far. I think he's had a fantastic run as of yet. But I think if he wants to step into that upper echelon, this is something he really needs to work on and needs to get there to make him a serious contender for the World Championship. Now, speaking of championships, our number 8, the resolution for Judgment Day: get some gold. Judgment Day has had some hot and cold moments as a faction. I think they've really picked up steam since adding Dominic Mysterio. I think he's really brought something extra to the team. He's really brought that real heat to him, that where people really hate part of the group. In order for us to keep taking them serious, whether it be Rhea getting the women's championship, or maybe Dom and Damian Priest getting a tag championship, or Finn Balor going for a world championship, or even a U.S. or Intercontinental championship, we need to get them getting gold and show that they can be dominant, show that they can win the big one, show that they're a force to be reckoned with. If not, you're always going to know they're going to lose every feud because they've lost every feud so far. It's just a little thing that I think could be switched, turn them on, make them one of the best factions in wrestling. Like I said, I enjoy what they're doing, especially the Dominic and Rhea Ripley part of the group. I really enjoy where that's going, and I'd love to see it evolve even further. Now, going from that, our number 7, CM Punk's New Year's resolution: let go of old hostilities and feuds. Whether it be with Triple H and Vince McMahon, or the Elite and Colt Cabana, for the wrestling fans, CM Punk needs to let bygones be bygones. I'll be the first to admit it. I'm a a CM Punk uber fan. I think he's one of the best wrestlers of the last 2 decades. I've enjoyed pretty much everything he's ever done. I think he's an asset to wrestling. The one downfall I will say of CM Punk, and it's the one thing that's also made him driven to be one of the best in the world, is that he doesn't let grudges go. You've seen infamously at Brawl Out, we've seen what happened where he tore into the Elite, where he tore into Adam Page, where he tore into Colt Cabana. He's on record talking badly about Triple H at times, talking bad about Vince McMahon. And I think even if it's just for his own mental stability, I think it would do CM Punk well to let it go. Even if he never comes back to wrestling, let those burdens go. I'm not saying you have to go and be best friends with Colt Cabana again, but let go the hostility. You don't have to talk to a guy not to let that out of your head. You can let go the stuff that Hangman Page said. You can let go the transgressions that Triple H had with you. Come out more peaceful. And I know, again, I've said it before, I said it just now, part of what makes CM Punk special is he's driven by his detractors. Maybe that knocks a little bit of the edge off. Maybe it doesn't. I'd love to see CM Punk back in wrestling in 2023. Hopefully in either company. I'd love to see him in WWE. There's dream matches there. There's money-making dream matches in AEW. Anything he does with the Elite's going to make them a ton of money. The setup with him versus Roman with Paul Heyman on Roman's side, that's going to make a ton of money. I mean, anywhere he goes, CM Punk is going to be one of the biggest stars there is. I just hope he can let some of it go and come back. Now, speaking of letting go, number 6, AEW as a company's resolution: trim the roster. Look, I'm all for wrestlers getting jobs. I'm all for people being employed and making money. But we're at a point where there's wrestlers on the roster like a Miro, like a FTR, where you don't see them for large chunks of time for no reason other than there's just not enough room. People like Riho, people like Hikaru Shida, they're in and out of the lineup. You might see them for 3 weeks and then not see them for 2 months. Lance Archer, you might see him for a couple weeks and then he's gone for 6 months. Even Hook has had this problem. Hook had a quick rise and then kind of disappeared for a few weeks. And I'm not talking about Dark and Elevation. We're taking that out of the equation because if you look at the numbers they do on Dark and Elevation versus what they do on Dynamite and Rampage, you're talking about a quarter of the audience. So only 25% of your audience is watching what you're doing on Dark and Elevation. So you might as well say nobody's watching. There's way too many people on their roster for them to have as little TV time as they do. And I know some of them are going to be reassigned to Ring of Honor, and that's great. That's a great way to put people. But let's let some people go. Let's let them go so they can thrive. Let them go to New Japan Pro Wrestling. Let them go to Impact. Let them go to MLW. Let them go to WWE if they can. There's no reason to keep people on the roster if you're not ever going to use them. It just, as a wrestling fan, if I love a team like, say, Top Flight, and I don't see Top Flight for 3 months, I start to lose interest in them. It's just one of those things. I think the roster's just too bloated, and they definitely need to let people go. Going from that, our number 5. Speaking about bloated, Jay White needs to trim out some members of Bullet Club or disband Bullet Club altogether. I'm on record, I've said it in a video just a couple days ago. Jay White has had a fantastic run as the leader of the Bullet Club. Yet, less and less people care about the Bullet Club. Now, whether it be because the group has grown to where there's way too many members to care about, or the interest in the group has just run its course naturally, there needs to be a huge uprising. Either Jay White disbands the Bullet Club, much like Minoru Suzuki did with Suzuki-gun, or he kicks a bunch of people out and lets them form something different. To kind of borrow on what was happening when the Elite was part of the Bullet Club, they need to have an upper tier level. Like guys, and I like a lot of these wrestlers that I'm going to mention here. Guys like Yujiro, guys like Chase Owens, guys like Fale. They're kind of also Rands right now. They're just there to be there. And I like those guys. I think they're all immensely entertaining. And I think there's places they could go and be entertaining. I just don't know that it's part of the Bullet Club or being the members of the Bullet Club that lose when it's time for the Bullet Club to eat a loss. A good reorganization of the Bullet Club, a good roster change in the Bullet Club would be very fun, and I think Jay White is the catalyst to do it. If he loses his title at Wrestle Kingdom, maybe the next day at New Year's Dash, he does some trimming, gets rid of some Bullet Club members, maybe even introduces some new ones, makes it a more interesting group. Just my opinion. Let's get that interest back in Bullet Club and back in Jay White, who's one of the best wrestlers in the world. Let's get him back where he belongs. Now going from that, our number 4. This is a resolution for both Carmella Hayes and Bronbreaker. Their resolution is to not let success go to their head. I fully imagine that both Bronbreaker and Carmelo Hayes will be on the main WWE rosters, whether it be SmackDown or Raw, before the end of 2023. And they're going to have rocket ships timed to them. These are two wrestlers that are guaranteed to be stars. When I look at Carmelo Hayes and him and what he's about and how he wrestles, the comparison for me would be Shawn Michaels. And I know there's a lot of people that wrestle like Shawn Michaels, but hear me out on this. The way he carries himself, the way he already acts like a star, he has that quality that Shawn Michaels had where he's going to put on a great match, but he's also going to be highly entertaining no matter what you give him. And I think the absolute sky's the limit for him, as well as Bronbreaker. Bronbreaker, to me, is the best parts of Rick Steiner and Scott Steiner in one wrestler. He has that lovability that Rick had with the charisma that Scotty had and the promo ability of Scott Steiner, which, let's face it, neither one of the Steiners were a great promo, but I could guarantee you every time Scott Steiner picked up a microphone, everybody listened because it was interesting. Braun carries on that legacy, and again, much like with Carmelo, he's going to have a rocket ship strapped to him. If neither one of them lets this go to their ego, you're looking at your WrestleMania main eventers for the next 15 years, and probably at some point against each other. I just think that the limit for both of these guys is sky high, and I hope they don't let it go to their head. I hope they continue to grow and become exactly what I could see them becoming within the next couple years. Now going from that, our number 3. This is our resolution for Sami Zayn. Sami, watch your back. It is pretty obvious where they're going with this. At some point, the bloodline is going to turn on Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn is going to be the scapegoat for a loss, whether it be when Roman loses a championship or an Usos loss. He's going to be held accountable, and he's going to get attacked by the bloodline. And I know this one's a little bit more tongue-in-cheek, and this is more kayfabe than most of the rest, but you can't argue that the best storyline in wrestling all year is the Sami Zayn bloodline storyline. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I'll love to see it keep going on, but as we all know, you can't have things go forever. I do think the turn's going to happen. Sami, make sure you watch your back, keep eyes in the back of your head. Maybe you have a mole within inside the bloodline. Maybe Solo continues to stay with you. Who knows? But keep your eyes open, my friend. Now going from that, our number 2. This resolution is for our friend Triple H. Triple H's resolution is stay on course. Rome was not built in one day. You have had a fantastic turnaround from when you took over WWE till now. You made it infinitely more interesting, infinitely more fun. The storylines are better, the in-ring is better, the pay-per-views are better, Raw and SmackDown are better shows, NXT's a better show. You need to roll with the punches out. You're on the right track. Even if there's a dip, if you lose some viewers, if you lose some ratings, you're going the right way. You're taking wrestling back to what we want to see. You have surprises showing up, you have fantastic matches, wrestlers that the fans want to see pushed or getting pushed. It's been amazing what you've been able to do within this last year, actually less than a year, and the turnaround's been great. It's easily argued that the last few years of Raw have been some of the worst years of Raw, and now it's not so much. I'm not saying it's a perfect show just yet. There are still a lot of problems with it. It does drag on at times. It does feel like we get a lot of the same story over and over again, but it's better, and it's getting better. And we have different faces in the mix. We have different storylines. I don't think if Vince McMahon was in charge, we'd get the Bray Wyatt storyline, good, bad, or indifferent. We wouldn't have had that comeback the way we did. I don't know that we would have had the Dominic Mysterio storyline playing out like it like it has if Vince was in charge. There's a lot of things that I think are really great that he's doing. Some not so much, but I think he's going to get it. And I think he's going to bring WWE back to where it's must-see television again. I'd be willing to say by the end of 23, it's going to be appointment television for any wrestling fan that's out there. Now, before we go to our number one, we do a thing here called the best of rest. Basically, it's things that were thought of for the list, but just barely missed. First up, we just talked about him, Vince McMahon. Your resolution is to find a hobby. Vince, I appreciate your contributions. I respect everything you've done in the world of professional wrestling, but please stay away. Find something else to do, because the show is better without you right now. And I know it's hard to hear, and I know you're not going to hear this. For everything that you contributed, and that is a ton, you have been detrimental over the past few years. And you've driven the viewership down, and you've driven fans away. Find yourself a nice, fun hobby. Become a fisherman. Build puzzles, build Legos, I don't know, work out more. That seems to be something you love to do. Find something that keeps you occupied, maybe get involved in some other aspects of entertainment that aren't pro wrestling. But let Triple H run it. Let the regime take over. Stay away if you can. Now, next up on our best of the rest, this is for Dante and Darius Martin, aka Top Flight. Your resolution is to weigh the risk against the reward. You're both immensely talented. You're both immensely charismatic. You're two of the best high flyers in wrestling there is. The only problem is both of you have become injury prone. And whether it be a freak injury or the style that you wrestle that's caused that, a lot of it is the style. That high speed, high flying matches, that leads to the more risk you take, the better chance you're going to get injured. So what I want you guys to do is to think of the risk versus the reward. Is a shooting star press to the outside on dark elevation worth doing when only 100,000 people are watching it? Is a 450 splash onto a table on the third match on Dynamite worth doing when there's 4 other matches that are going to use tables the same night? And that spot's not going to be remembered. And I know I sound like the old man shaking a fist at the clouds, or the old timers telling wrestlers to slow down here. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is pick your spots. Yes, do the 450 through the table, but let's do it in the tag team title match. Yes, do the shooting star press to the outside, but let's do it in a number 1 contenders match on pay-per-view. You can still incorporate very athletic, very high flying, safer moves into your move set during your normal matches, whether it be on Elevation, Dark, Rampage, or Dynamite, without going over the top. Save the over the top stuff for the big shows. Let yourselves heal up. Give us less chance that you're going to be injured. That way we have more chance of seeing you wrestle, and you guys are going to build to be one of the great tag teams of this generation. Just my opinion. It's the advice I would give them if they were to talk to me. So that's my resolution for them. Now, before we get into our number 1, if you think I left a resolution off the list, put one up too high, one down too low, let me know what you think here in the comments. Smash that like button, share the video, subscribe if you haven't. And with our number 1 New Year's resolution for 2023, this one's for Tony Khan. Tony Khan, your resolution is to book more women on Dynamite and Rampage. There is a spot every Dynamite around the 9:15 to 9:30 area every week where we see the one women's match. Now, there have been a couple outliers. There have been a couple times where the women main evented, but it's still only one match. In a show that's averaging 6 to 8 matches on the card, why can't we have 2 of them? Why can't we have one to start the show? Why can't we have 2 back-to-back? Why can't we have a women's gauntlet match or tag team match? I know Rampage is more even. Usually Rampage is 3 to 4 matches, and there's usually at least 1 women's match. But with that being said, there's a ton of talented women, whether it be Athena, Ruby Soho, Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, Jade Cargill, Nyla Rose, Anna Jay, Sky Blue, Mercedes Martinez, Willow Nightingale, Toni Storm. There's talented women all up and down your roster, and I probably left out a good 10 of them. You could benefit from having multiple women's matches on Dynamite. They don't have to both be 20, 25-minute ones. You could have a 5-minute women's match. Maybe put a Willow Nightingale on there early in the show against someone like Nyla Rose, so you could help show off their talents. And then you could have a more high-profile match later in the show to show off the talents there. It's the one inconsistency I will say with AEW. Their booking of the women's division has been questionable at best, and a lot of the reasoning is it just doesn't seem like, other than maybe one or two feuds at a time, they don't give a crap to book out the women's division barely at all. So for me, especially if you get one of the big free agents, rumors are maybe Sasha Banks or Naomi or both, now we got even more talent. Arguably, you bring Sasha Banks in, and for lack of a better pun, she's your most bankable talent, right up there with Chris Jericho, Jon Moxley, people that the general wrestling audience know. They know Sasha Banks from her decade in WWE. She's main event at big shows. She's main event at pay-per-views. She's a major star. If you could have her on the show more often, or women like Saraya, or Ruby Soho, or Athena, all these extremely talented women, you're going to not only bring a fan base that you don't already have, the young women who may be watching it with their boyfriend, husband, father, brother, cousin, whatever it may be. They may just be watching it in passing, and then they turn around and look and say, oh, that girl looks interesting. Who is she? And then all of a sudden you got a Chris Statlander fan that's willing to watch every week because she wants to see what Chris Statlander's going to do. Or a Ruby Soho fan. Or any one of the women I've mentioned. I hope as we turn into a new year with a new look for Dynamite that we have some new booking ideas, one of them being more women's matches. I think we need it. I think it's definitely something that needs to be done. I don't necessarily think you have to make it 50-50, but I would like to see more than one match per Dynamite. And then maybe there are some shows where it is 50-50. Maybe there are some shows where there's more women's wrestling on the show than there is men. Maybe we give a 30-40 minute match to the women. Let's see what happens. Let's grow that audience. I think it's done wonders in the WWE. It's helped diversify their audience and bring new fans that wouldn't be there, and I think it would help in AEW too. Now, with all that being said, again, smash the like button, share the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you made it all the way to the end, put into the comments one resolution that you have for pro wrestling, whether it be a wrestler or a company. Let me know in the comments your resolution, what you'd like to see one wrestling company, wrestler, whatever it may be, work on. With all that being said, my name is George Coles, and this has been another Heel Heat Top 10.